All right, it is week 15 in the MASL. Let's get picking. We'll start off on Friday by looking at the Orlando SeaWolves visiting the Kansas City Comets. Now, if you've watched these videos before, you know that for a while now, I've been saying that Orlando seems to be getting better and better as the season progresses. But over the past couple of games, it seems like they've plateaued or maybe even regressed a little bit. They're not quite playing at the same level and definitely not showing that same trajectory that I saw earlier on. That combined with the fact that the last time these teams played in Kansas City won that game easily, makes me think that Kansas City will win this one as well. Still on Friday, we have Flash de Monterrey visiting the El Paso Coyotes. The Flash seem to be back to that dominant style that we're used to seeing from them. I know that a few weeks ago, it looked like they were kind of on shaky ground, relatively speaking for them, of course, but now it seems like they're back to that high level of play. Meanwhile, El Paso, they looked really good for the first quarter in Tacoma last week. Not so great for the remaining 3 quarters. So I think Monterrey is going to win this game, and I think they're going to win easily. And then for our final game on Friday, we have the Tacoma Stars visiting the Turlock Express. Tacoma got back to their winning ways this past Friday with a nice win over El Paso. Meanwhile, Turlock is still Turlock. I'm picking the Stars. Moving on to Saturday, we have the Orlando SeaWolves visiting the Milwaukee Wave. These teams played last week, but the game was in Orlando. Despite that, Milwaukee still won easily. Orlando for this game is playing on the second game of a 2-game road trip. All in all, things don't look that great for Orlando. I think Milwaukee is going to win this game, and honestly, I think it might be a blowout. Then we have the Harrisburg Heat visiting the Mississauga MetroStars. Harrisburg finally got their first road win this past week over St. Louis, and let me tell you, Harrisburg is starting to look like a scary team. They have beaten some of the top-notch teams at home, and now they can win on the road as well. All in all, they're a team that you do not want to play. Meanwhile, Mississauga, they showed some glimpses of good soccer against the Blast. I still don't think they're quite there yet. They still have a long ways to go, so I'm picking the Heat to win this game. Moving on to Sunday, we have the very same Harrisburg Heat visiting Utica City FC. As I just said, Harrisburg, they're a good team, but it's still awfully tough to win 2 games in 24 hours, especially when one of the teams that you're playing is Utica. So I'm picking the City to win this game. Kansas City Comets at the Baltimore Blast. The Blast had a bit of a scare last week in Mississauga. They came close to losing that game. They did pull out the win in the end. But if you look closer at that game, the Blast dominated for most of it. The first quarter was really where Mississauga did most of their damage, so I'm not all that worried about the Blast. I think they're still a top-notch team. They're also playing at home in this game, so I'm picking the Blast to win this one. St. Louis Ambush visiting the Florida Tropics. These two teams have put on some great games against each other, and it's kind of hard for me to decide who's going to win this game, but last week Florida looked really good in their win over Orlando. Meanwhile, St. Louis, they didn't look that great when they lost to Harrisburg, and they really didn't look that great when they lost to Milwaukee. All of that in combination with the fact that the game is in Florida has me picking the Tropics. Then we have my game of the week, Flash de Monterrey visiting the Dallas Sidekicks. The last time these teams played in Dallas, the Sidekicks pulled off an impressive victory, which surprised just about everybody. Since then, the Flash have gotten back to a dominant style of play, and the Sidekicks, well, they've kept on trucking along and have had some impressive wins since then as well. So I think these two sides are set up for an epic clash on Sunday. Now as for the winner, I know this past week the Flash destroyed the Sidekicks in Monterrey, but the Sidekicks were playing in their second game in 2 days, and they had to travel to Monterrey for that game, so I don't think that game is very indicative of what's going to happen this Sunday. As a matter of fact, I think this game is going to be a lot closer. That's why it's my game of the week. But Monterrey has just been playing so well as of late, I've got to pick the Flash to win this one. El Paso Coyotes at the Rio Grande Valley Barracudas. RGV, they've been slipping up a little bit as of late. A couple of weeks ago, they barely beat Ontario at home, and then last week, they lost at Dallas. That said, I still think RGV is good enough to beat the Coyotes, especially at home, so I'm picking the Barracudas. Ontario Fury at the San Diego Sockers. Donovan Mania is in full swing. He scored his first 2 goals in arena soccer last week against Turlock, and in general, San Diego just seems to be at a different level than the rest of their division. I expect that trend to continue on Sunday. I'm picking the Sockers. Then finally, and for the second time this week, we have Tacoma playing Turlock, but this time the game will be in Tacoma. Despite the location change, I expect the exact same result. I'm picking the Stars. So that will do it for my Week 15 MASL predictions, but make sure you come back next week to see which ones I got right and which ones I got wrong, as well as to see my Week 16 MASL predictions. In the meantime, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you next time. St. Louis Tropics, gosh darn it.